Welcome to our Design Heroine campaign. We're looking at the different barriers women face in the engineering sector. So let's talk about today's topic, which is being left out of meetings and events. One of the ones that I think resonates with me is working social interactions, being focused around football, fantasy football, five-a-side.
Well, Fran, can I just interrupt and say, so Arthur's two, right? My son, he watches football with Paul, and he doesn't even call it football; he calls it man ball, and I find it like the most insightful thing ever. And so now I'm always like, is the man ball on? Like, because it's not football, right? It only represents one of the genders.
Well, there are females play football and play really well, actually. Didn't the England team do really well last year? Or the year
Don't like,
before?
do not like football, so I'm not the person to ask.
I believe that our England women's team were really, really good.
How do I not know about this? I don't know.
Much better than the men that never even get into the quarterfinals. Like, let's talk about that one.
I don't know anything about football. I don't. I really don't. Um, but on the work social interactions though, like always revolving around like something that maybe men prefer to women. I remember this is when we worked together back in the day. Um, this is when we worked back together. Do you remember how people in our office used to go and play? Just every week used to go and play golf.
Yeah.
And do you know, I was never invited. And the thing that I find so funny about it is I'm really good at golf. Like my swing is incredible. And so I just don't understand. Like, but I was never ever invited. And, that's sad for them because they weren't playing against the best. But I think it's a good example of exclusion, just based on the fact that I was female, probably because it definitely wasn't my skills. I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember having conversations after I started that all the men only talked about sports. And every coffee break we went to was focused around sports. And we actually set a rule out because I had raised it that I just had nothing to talk about and I wasn't going to come to coffee anymore. That we weren't talking about sports anymore. And actually, all the men took that on board and it did continue until a new guy joined. Started talking about sports. I was like, I'm really sorry, but during coffee when I'm here, like we just don't talk about sports. You can do that on another coffee break, but I've got nothing to contribute. And he was like, well, you can't talk about shoes then. And I was like,
Why would you?
like you just undermined like every stereotype there, and
Why would you talk about shoes? I don't know.
that was
Oh my God.
his comeback, and I was like, wow,
Is this what people think women talk about? Shoes. So there's another one here, not being invited along to strategy and development sessions, but similar level male colleagues being invited when these are overnight team away days. So I think this is the more subtle stuff, right? Of women that have childcare responsibilities. People think they're doing them a favor by being like, oh, well, I'm not going to invite them because who's going to look after the children? Um, and then excluding them as a consequence. And I've seen it. And I definitely feel like I've said in previous roles, like, oh, I would have liked to have done X, Y, and Z, and then no, the response being, oh, well, I thought that you would, and then some sort of assumption based on the fact that I have a child, which was really interesting. I'm like, no, get me away from this child. Like, someone else can look after him. That's fine. What about you?
So I was going to say that I'd never experienced it, and I don't think I really have. However, I have experienced the comments being like, "You've only gone there because you're a girl," and I think it's something we'll address later on in the campaign of the day
Oh,
about the positive discrimination, how that actually is sometimes a negative. Because I've had so many comments being like, "Oh, you only got invited to that event because you're a girl." Like,
yeah, I remember when I don't know if you ever came when in this was way back in the day. I went to the Institute of Physics like annual events, but I did a lot of voluntary stuff at the company we worked at
yeah,
for and around just promoting physics and STEM. And so it made sense to me that I would be invited because I was so involved. And yeah, I had similar comments like, you've only got an invite because you're a woman and they want to look like they care about women.
yeah.
And I would add that, like many other women that I know, you were probably doing it voluntarily, out of your own time, on top of your ordinary work commitments, and then as soon as you get any form of recognition, it's oh well, that's only because you're a woman, as opposed to oh that's because of all the extra work you did on top of your day job as well that you absolutely smash.
These were mine and Marie's experiences. Tell us yours in the comments.